Right now, you're watching Left 4 Dead 2 run natively on Linux. A month ago, I made one of the best decisions in my life. Well, that's a bit drastic, but it's a decision that changes how I use technology at home. I finally decided to ditch Windows in favor of Linux. For context, I've been using Linux for the past 5 years. I was kind of forced to learn it when the pandemic hit and we went to school virtually. Every student got a Chromebook except for me. I didn't say anything because I had a computer at home and we were allowed to use our personal devices. I was a little nervous they would put some sort of spyware on my system with the pretext of not cheating during exams, which is fair enough on school issued laptops. I already knew about virtual machines, but I never used one before. I didn't know if they were secure enough so the teachers couldn't look into my personal desktop, but it's better to be safe than sorry. Anyways, I was debating if I should emulate Windows 10 since I was familiar with it, but as we all know, Windows is bloated and putting all that Microsoft junk into a weaker virtual machine was not going to be a smooth experience for me. So I looked for a lighter alternative. I obviously knew what Linux was from hearing it get glazed on YouTube and Reddit, so I did my research. It was daunting to install Linux on a VM, but I gave it a shot anyways. The cool thing about virtual machines is that it works like a sandbox. If you mess something up, you can reset with no issues. My distribution of choice was Ubuntu. I distinctly remember on one occasion where I had to screen share on a Zoom meeting, all my classmates were confused as to why my taskbar or panel, if you're cool like me, looked the way it did. I thought Linux was already well known, but it turns out that it was only popular in my circle. Now I realize that Linux only went mainstream after the Steam Deck released. Anyways, ever since the pandemic, I decided to dual boot and it was a great experience. I became a distro hopper, going from Ubuntu to Fedora and then to Pop! OS, eventually giving Arch a try. Well, KDE if I'm honest. So it's fair to say I got accustomed to the Linux side of things. There was only one issue. I had to dual boot because I was using applications from Windows that were not available on Linux, most notably Roblox. In my previous video, I said that I will no longer be playing Roblox. Now that I quit Roblox, I finally made the jump and completely erased Windows 11 for good. Yup, a Lego game was preventing me from doing what I was supposed to do years ago. It was not an easy change. I had to assess what applications I would be missing out on and really think about how often I use them to determine if the switch was worth it. As it turns out, I am a genius. I've always favored open source projects. My daily applications just so happen to be open source and available on Linux. I didn't touch Microsoft Word outside of work and school because I had LibreOffice. I know there's some issues with spacing and fonts, but it was functional enough for me. I don't pay for Photoshop or Premiere Pro. I make my thumbnails using free websites online and edit my videos using Shotcut. Shotcut is a really good editing software, by the way. I've been using this thing since I started my channel. So now that Roblox was out of the picture, I embraced Linux full time. Despite the fact I was familiar with some distros, I really struggled to pick which one was going to be my permanent one. Back when I had dual boot, I would change distros every other month because all my important files were on my Windows disk. Mind you, Windows was still my daily operating system and Linux was only used for me to mess around and explore. I really had to think about the everyday functionality of each desktop environment. Ultimately, I landed on Linux Mint. I could have flexed Arch if I wanted to, but I picked Mint for a variety of reasons. The problem with Arch is that everything is cutting edge and there's a new update almost every day. Not only is it annoying to wait for everything to update, but when things get updated, something else breaks. You have to do extensive troubleshooting to fix it. Maybe I'm just dumb and didn't install my stuff correctly, but I spent more time fixing my drivers than actually using my computer. Linux Mint works out of the box. The install process was straightforward and I was using my computer within minutes. There's a reason why it's the recommended operating system for people who are only familiar with Windows. The interface is identical and anything you can do on Windows is also possible in Mint. It is very versatile. A lot of distros only seem to work for one thing, whether that's browsing the web, coding, or gaming. Mint is a general purpose distro. I was looking for an operating system that I could use long term, and Mint fits the bill for what I was looking for. It's not all sunshine and rainbows. There are some caveats that I want to discuss. My hardware is showing its age, which is one of the reasons why the uploads have been slowing down. Linux supposedly gives new life to old hardware, but I've noticed that my fans are louder than when I was using Windows. I did some research and the general consensus is that GNOME, the desktop environment that comes with Mint, is really bad at memory usage. Despite my louder than usual fans, my experience has been smoother overall. It could be an issue with my drivers, course, I am using an Nvidia graphics card after all. There is one more limitation that I want to cover before ending this video. I have to say something about the games eventually. If you've been around my channel for a while, you get a general understanding of the type of games I play. I will openly admit that I despise multiplayer games. Back when I worked in a call center as a customer service representative, after a long day of getting yelled at by Karens, the last thing I wanted was getting yelled at by randoms when I wasn't playing at my fullest. So I avoided them like the plague. I don't care if I miss out on Call of Duty or Fortnite because I hate playing those games.
Bruh.
Oh my god, dude, you suck.
There were a lot of cancelled videos that included games like Valorant, Helldivers 2, Peak, Repo, Deep Rock Galactic, and Population 1 because I wasn't enjoying myself. Does anyone remember Population 1? You can make the argument to get good, but even if I was good at these games, I play video games to de-stress, and competing against other people is mentally draining for me. All the games I have installed aren't recently released AAA titles. I mostly play games made by independent developers or games that came out during the late 90s and early 2000s. So I'm not concerned about graphics or frame rate. As long as my vices are satisfied, I'm happy. Left 4 Dead, Dwarf Fortress, Daggerfall Unity, and Osu run natively on Linux. My only complaint is that for Osu, I have to use the Osu Laser client. It's still possible to play stable, albeit at the expense of latency, which is not optimal for a rhythm game. Since I exclusively play older games and indies, it's natural that I use GOG, my primary library of games. For some reason, Mint refuses to let me launch those games even after running them through Wine. Steam uses Proton, and a lot of my games work just fine. Not all of them though. I'm still trying to figure out why. I googled it and it has something to do with my kernel. Changing it requires me to have a more powerful machine, so I'd rather not mess with it. So yeah, Mint has been doing a fine job at being my daily operating system despite some nitpicks. Every distro I've used has its pros and cons, and I'm still exploring my options. I've been considering switching to Bazzite since gaming is what I do the most. I've also been looking into Zorin, but I don't know enough about that one to actually make the switch. I'll probably just install it under a virtual machine and mess with it. I just wanted to share my first month of using Linux full time. I'm not a newbie by any means, but getting rid of Windows felt like removing the training wheels from a bike. My advice is to not be afraid of the terminal. I use it on a regular basis back when I was on Windows. I got so confident with it, I started to play games on it. Don't sleep on the snapshots. Even after years of experimenting with different variations of Linux, there are some habits I have from Windows that made me mess up my install on multiple occasions. It's very important to back up your stuff. This thing saved my flank so many times. Oh yeah, also Minecraft somehow runs better on Linux than it did on Windows. Now that the game is playable, I promised my friend that I'll play with him. That has not happened yet. Sorry Alexander, maybe one day.